going to continue our sagas of British men of letters because it's time for lore. And this season, British men of letters is very similar to an occult secret society from Victorian London known as the Golden Dawn. And the main sources are Women of the Golden Dawn by Mary K. Greer and The Victorian Occultism and the Making of Modern Magic by Alison Butler. Other sources will be in the show notes. So, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was founded in Victorian England at a time when the occult was having a moment. Spiritualism remained popular, and Blavatsky's Theosophist movement was causing a stir. Hundreds of men and women would be initiated into the order from 1888 to 1901 at 5 separate temples. Among those would be the day's celebrities like William Butler Yeats and the actress Maude Gonne. In 1898, the beast Aleister Crowley would join their ranks. And we're going to start off with the 3 founders who came from Freemason and Rosicrucian backgrounds, all belonging to the Societas Rosicrucian in Anglia, SRIA, and much of the organization's rituals can be attributed to that organization. It all begins, though, with the Cipher Manuscripts, a collection of 56 folios of encoded writings. William Wynn Westcott would claim to have received the ciphers from the Reverend A.F.A. Woodford, another Mason, and that they had once belonged to the famous French occultist Eliphas Levi. The ciphers were coded using a cryptogram based on the Polygraphia, which is also the source of the witches' alphabet. Additionally, among the pages of the ciphers, Westcott said he found the address of Fraulein Anna Sprengel of Stuttgart, a place rich with Rosicrucian history. The note said Sprengel was Sapiens Dominabitur Astris, or the wise among the stars, and a chief among the members of the Goldene Dämmerung, or Golden Dawn. He also said that he wrote to this Anna, and she said that he, William Robert Woodman, and Samuel Mathers were granted the right to head the British version of that order. However, weeks before he received the letter from Anna Sprengel, on October 4th, 1887, Westcott wrote a letter to Samuel Mathers, who we'll be calling McGregor, asking if he would become a co-chief with one other person and himself. Westcott proposed that he could translate the ciphers he found, then McGregor could turn it into a set of rituals and he would pay him to do this. So there's a little bit about, okay, so maybe that there was a little bit of a on the founding of this order, right? And a little bit about the 3 guys who founded this, the 3 chiefs of the Golden Dawn. I'm going to start with the one we know the least about because he exits the story really quickly, and that is William Robert Woodman. He studied medicine and was a member of the SIRA and would become Supreme Magus in 1878. We know he was into Kabbalah, astrology, and alchemy, but his association with the Theosophists is not really known. We don't know what other occult organizations he was hanging out with besides Masons, basically. So he died shortly after the order was founded, and while there are references to manuscripts he wrote, they've never been found. And he may have just been chosen as a chief because of his status within the Masons and his seniority in older occult circles. William Wynn Westcott was born in Warwickshire in 1848. He was raised by his uncle after his parents died young, and like his uncle, he studied medicine. So he was appointed coroner for Northeast London in 1881. Medicine wasn't his only passion, though, and he sequestered himself for a couple of years to study Kabbalistic philosophy and hermetics and alchemical and Rosicrucian writings. He joined the SIRA in the 1880s and would become the Supreme Magus from 1891 to 1925. He was active in the Victorian occult societies, presenting lectures to the Theosophical Society and belonging to Anna Kingsford's Western Esoteric Hermetic Society. That knowledge would be put to use in formulating his new order. And all the order was a brainchild of Westcott. McGregor Mathers is responsible for its rituals. McGregor's birth name was Samuel Little Mathers. McGregor, he added later. He would claim that he was a Highlander and that he came from the McGregor clan. Maybe not so true, but his interest in secret handshakes first emerged when he joined the Freemasons at 23, where he achieved the level of Master Mason. That's okay.
Sorry, he's really into secret handshakes and he was a Master Mason.
Exactly.
Sorry.
This is the first time he used Comte din Glastre and thus declared himself to be the McGregor's line of Glenstray's line. He joined the SIRA at the invitation of Westcott and Woodman. McGregor was highly influenced by Anna Kingsford. He was very fond of her, and he was also familiar with the Theosophists. He was really into fitness. He was a boxer. He was a fencer. He was also into military stuff, and he thought that every occultist should be in excellent physical condition. So we'll learn more about the chiefs as we go through this, but back to the ciphers. So there were not enough rituals in the original ciphers, and McGregor was tasked with creating more. These would become the order's foundation, and the concept of synthesis, the core tradition it drew upon, and the foundation manuscripts were all adopted or borrowed. So the idea of synthesis is that you're taking little bits of different things and then turning it into one, or as I call it, stealing. But so the material centered on a scholarly study of symbols or rituals that would help them attain a higher level of spiritual being through natural magic. The magic structured echo the Renaissance magic, and influences included the ancient Egyptian religion, the Kabbalah, Christianity, Freemasonry, paganism, theurgy, alchemy, early modern grimoires, and Enochian magic, such as that recorded by the early modern occultist John Dee, which is why we finally did John Dee's story last episode. So the goal for the magician was you wanted the magician to grow spiritually and in magical ability, usually by working in accordance with the universal will. So they're really into the idea of making things happen with this concept of will. Okay. Two goddesses sit at the order's symbolic center: Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic and nature, and Urania, the Greek muse of astronomy. But this was also, it was not a place of worship, right? Members might invoke deities, but worshiping and sacrificing to them was not the main point. The order also did not like mesmerism or hypnotism, wherein a person would be seen to act as like a passive medium, separating the individual from the other realm. And they really disliked spiritualists who did that. The Golden Dawn required in their initial pledge that no one give up their will to another, nor allow themselves to be hypnotized, which I think you're just kind of losing out on some fun. You know, like sometimes you just want to turn Chuck into a chicken, right?
Well, but if you're also, I guess, if your whole core focus is all about will, then you can't give up your will. So I mean,
yeah,
at least, like, I guess at least there's some consistency.
At least there's consistency, but you're just, I said, you know, you're losing out on some fun. So the Golden Dawn had three orders. The first order, the outer order, was for teachings from the Cipher manuscript. McGregor came up with the idea of the second inner order, which he named the Ruby Rose and the Cross of Gold, and it was formed in 1891. Members are advanced through a series of grades, each with its own initiation ceremony based in the Kabbalistic tree of life. The first 4 levels were about intellectual development. Initiates memorize the Hebrew alphabet, the structure of the Kabbalistic tree of life, and astrological glyphs, terms, and techniques. The only personal ritual practice was for protection, and that was the ritual of the pentagram. The Golden Dawn used a number of tools and techniques that had to be carefully learned, including tarot, geomancy, astrology, and other methods for spiritual development. And the first order was divided by the elements of earth, air, water, and fire. They kept the dinosaur names from the SRA for the levels, so there were Zelator, Theorocus, Practicus, and Philosophus. So once you passed a series of written and oral exams, you could be initiated into the second order. There, magicians create their own rituals. Rituals were ceremonial magic, which could be of 3 types. Initiation, where a candidate is presented to a particular kind of force meant to stimulate the psychic centers. Evocation, where forces are contacted and then their energies focused on a purpose. And invocation, where one is inviting a deity or a spirit in. And according to Mary Greer, the steps of the ritual symbolically act out what is taking place in the spiritual or cosmic realm. First, a sacred circle is created in which the officers allow the forces to be channeled through them while the Hierophant directs these energies. 2, the ritual objects are consecrated. No, I have concentrated, but I have a feeling it probably should be consecrated because they're made sacred. So I may have a typo here. So I'm going to say the ritual objects are consecrated and made sacred so that they become the thing that they symbolize. Third, the god forces or spiritual beings are then evoked from the astro into the material plane. Finally, the astro forces are dispersed and the ceremonial energy is closed down. So that was how they would make a ritual. So basically you do a circle and then you channel some energy, then you consecrate some objects, you make them sacred, then God forces whoever are invoked and they come down and help you. And then you've got to disperse all the forces when you go. Yep.
Okay.
So no distinction was made between monotheism, polytheism, and pantheism. The spiritual plane participants could include any being from Osiris, Isis, Anubis, Sophia, the Messiah, Christian Rosencreutz, Solomon, the angels, the archangels, Hermes, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, sylphs, gnomes, undine, and salamanders, and eventually the entire Celtic pantheon of magic.
That's quite a spread.
Well, I think it's
a theme song for David the Gnome for David the other day too.
I appreciate that you could call on gnomes for help. I mean, I told you to call on gnomes the other day when you lost the Kong.
That's what I played. That's why I played the theme song for David the Gnome for Dave.
Yeah, but basically they're covering all their bases, and like I said, I think also it's kind of the idea that all these deities, whatever pantheon they are, they're all kind of focusing the same thing, and it's just different aspects of it depending on. But your real purpose, the real thing is about your will, right? So the second order could also recommend new inductees. McGregor claimed the teachings came from personal communications he had with the secret chiefs of the third order that nobody ever gets high enough to meet. Because also, since he was the one who made all the rituals and he's the one who's talking to the secret chiefs, this kind of made him the de facto leader of the order. And so we're going to stop here. But there's much more Golden Dawn to come, including the initiation rites, the time they had a magical showdown in the streets of London. There are many court cases and much more.
Big my fingers because it's like you just like the West Side Story.
It is like a West Side Story, but with magicians. All right, so I'm going to end with this theory, though, about the ciphers, because I kind of feel I have to. The authenticity of the ciphers was in question from the moment Westcott mentioned them. It is most likely that Westcott used foreign writing paper to counterfeit the manuscripts, enlisting the help of a German employee to make the contents. No attempt to verify the existence of Anna Sprengel has ever been successful. Westcott probably fabricated her to give the Golden Dawn a tradition and credentials to come. So that is the beginning of the Golden Dawn.